more than you can out. Okay? So which way do you think the ankles get sprained more? Inversion, right? Who here hasn't ever twisted their ankle? Okay, not too many people. Most everybody, maybe you haven't had a bad sprain or something, but at least at some point in time you've gone, whoops, and you twist your ankle out to the side like that and you catch it and come back, right? But other times you get a more actual ankle sprain, right? So that's where it gets swollen and things like that. So then, now we're going to have, and then just to clarify, these ligaments on this side, what movement are they going to limit? Inversion or eversion? The lateral side, they're going to stop movement from the other direction, or to the other direction. Okay? So then now we'll flip it over and go on this side. Okay? These ligaments are going to have individual names that go from one bone to the other, but all we're going to do is just call this the deltoid. Okay? You know your Greek alphabet stuff? Like this, right? You probably could throw in some reference to the movie Animal House, right? Delta House. Anyway, delta is a triangle shape. Okay, so these ligaments on the medial side, all you need to know is we're just going to call them the deltoid ligament. They do have individual names. Like if this one goes from the tibia to this right here, you'd probably call it tibial. But anyway, you don't need to worry about that. They're all the deltoid muscles. It's a triangle shape, not muscles, ligaments. It's a triangle shaped group of ligaments that are on the medial side of the ankle. They attach to what bone? All of them are going to come from the tibia to either the talus, the calcaneus, navicular. Okay. So here's all the individual names of it right here. So you have one going from the tibia to the talus, one going from the tibia to the calcaneus, and then also another one anterior to tibio-talar joint ligament. So it's pretty much the same as on the other side, but then you also have this tibio-navicular. But all those together are just called the deltoid ligament. So just remember, on the medial side of the ankle, the deltoid ligament. On the other side, you have the three different named ligaments. One right down the middle is between the fibula and the calcaneus, and then the other ones you have anterior talocib and posterior talocib. What do you think? It attaches, ligaments attach what? Bones to bones. Okay? So it's going to stabilize the joint. If you just had two bones sitting there like this, then you have this. Okay? The ligaments are going to help hold those joints together. Okay? If we didn't have ligaments connecting these bones together, they'd just flop around like that. Okay? So the ligaments are going to, between the ligament and the joint capsule, that's what holds the joints together. Ligaments a lot of times are just thickenings of joint capsule, but they're basically going to be, they're going to hold the bones together. Okay? If you translate ligament, ligare means a bandage. It's basically like a bandage or a strap that holds all these bones together. If you didn't have ligaments, your bones would just be flopping around all the place. Okay? So, what happens when you tear a ligament? Is the joint going to be stable or is it going to lose its stability? It's not going to be stable.
Break your ankle. Sometimes when people break their ankle, will it detach?
I know.
If you break the bone, it's going to, it's an injury to the bone. A sprain is an injury to the ligament. But what you're talking about, let's see. I think what you're referring to is what's considered an avulsion fracture. What happens is the point where the ligament attaches to the bone, the ligament's so strong that it doesn't give up its grip and it doesn't tear, it pulls a piece of bone off with it. And let me try to pull up yeah, the ligament doesn't tear, the bone And basically, I'd rather break a bone than tear a ligament. Because when bones heal, they rebuild and they're bone just as the same as they were. I mean, unless you're talking about some real bizarre thing where you're talking about screws and pins and major fractures like that. But if you're just talking about your general run-of-the-mill broken bone, like if you can get fractures of the lateral malleolus, medial malleolus. If you break this, as long as it's not majorly displaced, when it heals with bone, and it's just pretty much the same as it was to start with. But when ligaments heal, they don't heal the same. You don't end up with this new ligament that was the same as the one that got torn. Most of the time, you're going to have laxity.
But can they splice the ligament or not so much?
They can repair them, like they try to tighten them up, or they'll graft in. Like if you have
Is that
knee,
what they do with screws? They screw the ligament?
if you have surgery, sometimes they'll replace a ligament. Like anterior cruciate surgery, they'll do things. Either they'll use a cadaver ligament, or they'll take they'll harvest some other tendon or something, and put that in. They tend to use another tendon from another part of the body for anterior cruciate, but posterior cruciate, they can't really do that. They have to use
But for the
cadaver.
ankle,
They don't usually, I haven't really heard much of grafting other ligaments on there.
People generally lose their flexibility if they break their
If they break their ankle, yeah, you heal and it heals with scar tissue.
Doesn't it
So if you
sometimes
have a
feel?
fracture,
Doesn't it sometimes bone heal stronger than it was before?
it
I've
can,
heard that.
If it overgrows itself and it builds up with a callus,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't necessarily say it's stronger. But ligaments, if something's overstretched, it's like, if you've ever had a piece of clothing or something that had elastic in it and the elastic got old and it wore out, it's history, right? But, if you had something that had a more rigid piece in it, like the women that have the big hoop rings or something like that, you can just replace the ring and then it'll still be strong. But if you overstretch the elastic, it's not the same. But the basic thing is that ligaments, you'll see here, this is what happens here. Your stick figure, you come down and you can break the bone. All right, so here's what I'm looking for here. Okay, so you can have fractures of the bone, and then, for example, like if this ligament's attached right there, the ligament didn't tear, but the piece of bone right there that the ligament was attached to broke away. Like if you had, say, the lateral malleolus coming down like that.
It's not a
then,
broken fibula, right?
in this case, yeah, fibula, right. Tibia, fibula. So if the fibula is coming down like this and there's a ligament right there, but the ligament doesn't tear and the bone breaks right there, that's an avulsion fracture. So it's a fracture of bone. And if that bone, that bone can heal and fill that gap, and it could be just as strong as it was. But if you tear that ligament, it's not going to heal the same.
What's the word? Avulsion.
Avulsion. Pretty sure that's how you spell it. I might have to check it to be sure, but avulsion fracture.
Is that typically what happens when you break your ankle, or you break your fibula?
Well, you can have different things can break. What you can do a lot of times, what happens is you break this, the base of the metatarsal, the fifth. Okay. You can have fractures of the fibula. You can have tibia. But I would say those are probably more
Big
common.
Scars down the inside of their leg. What are
Yes.
they called? Break there?
They could have had like a comminuted spiral fracture or a spiral fracture, or they could have done both. Okay. Remember that movie with James Caan was in it, and then there's that other woman where they put a big piece of wood between the ankles and she
Misery.
Talk about misery.